Hello, everyone. So once again, something completely different. Last weekend, we had the masterpiece that was The Phantom of the Opera, which if you watch my reaction all over 3 hours of it, then you'll see that I really, really liked it, got really into it. This week, we have something, again, completely different for the community. This is a reaction request from Lindsay Reno. It's probably Lindsay Reno. I hope I pronounced that right. Apologise if I haven't. But Lindsay has requested something called Hard Choices and sent me a Spotify link. So on Spotify, which hopefully you can see on the screen now, it's a podcast episode, but I think it's more of an audio story. It's a special episode. It's called Hard Choices, and it's from something called Dust, a sci-fi experience. So I don't know what to expect. Like I said, it is a Spotify. It is an audio story, an audio reading narrative. I'm guessing. I don't know at all what it contains. Because I'm quite a visual person, I'll probably just make some notes of key characters and just points that come up for me. Quite like sci-fi. In fact, one of my favourite series of books is a series called Space Team by Barry Hutchison. I'm looking forward to this. I haven't read anything or heard anything or watched anything particularly sci-fi related for a while. I know people quite often ask me to react to The Expanse, but unfortunately I saw them all pretty much as soon as they came out, and I binged it because that to me was such a great series. I haven't really watched anything that's sci-fi related since, I don't think. Well, at least not as good as that. Not that I can remember. But if you guys want me to check out some more sci-fi stuff, let me know, because it's a genre I like. I think we're pretty much ready to get into this. It's about 45 minutes long. See what we get. Here we go. This is the start. This is what I expect.
Captain, there's something. There. Right there.
I see it. What is the scanner picking up?
We've got metal, plastics, definitely synthetic materials. It's a spaceship, Captain.
A spaceship? What are you doing there?
Captain Taktun Kantari placed his hand on my shoulder and squinted at my screen.
Sorry, let me just... That's a complicated name.
Materials.
Captain.
It's a spaceship, Captain.
A spaceship? What are you doing there?
Captain Taktun Kantari placed his hand on my...
Taktun Daktari? Something like that. Let me just make a note of... Because it's sci-fi, I need to struggle sometimes when I read the books to visualize kind of races and just kind of visualize what they're going to look like. And some of the names are quite difficult to pronounce, so I need to try to remember. I think that sounded like Taktun Daktari.
Shoulder and squinted at my screen, then turned his head to the window. In front of us, the comet we call Mother's Light spun slowly in the deep black of space. Mother's Light holds a special place in our history. It once burned across the night sky of our homeworld, Dramaria, several hundred cycles ago.
Right, so these are the perspectives
brighter than any before it. The comet had been taken as a divine sign, prompting several warring empires to declare peace, later unifying into the planet's first world government. This was the catalyst for a renaissance that had advanced Dramari science and technology in leaps and bounds, until finally, 20 cycles ago, we had launched our first chemical rocket into orbit, which is where we found the Federation waiting for us, with open arms. The Federation accelerated our technology even more. The vessel we were in represented the pinnacle of Dramari engineering. It was our first faster-than-light ship, built based on technology bartered from the Federation soon after first contact. Its name was 01-001, Model 1, Vessel 1. We called it Wands.
Ones.
This was only the One's second mission. A short in-system hop to visit Mother's Light, a test flight, a training mission, and a pilgrimage for our people. Telescopic observations prior to first contact had confirmed that Mother's Light had not been an ice-laden comet at all, but rather a massive rocky asteroid that had passed close enough to graze the atmosphere of our planet, causing the light show that had lit the fire of modern civilization. Here on the bridge of the Ones, the crew and I were dumbstruck. Nothing could have prepared us to find an alien craft anchored to the side of the great comet. I'm not getting any heat off the object, Captain. No obvious signs of life.
Align trajectories and take us as close as you can. I'm going in.
Well, they're going to explore this spacecraft that's on the comet, Mother's Light.
I heard Captain Taktun Kantari slide the bubble helmet over his head and lock it into place over the comlink. I checked the indicators on my system in the command module. I initiated the suit's surveillance system and could easily see the captain as he ran his pre-spacewalk protocol. He triple-checked the joint seals on each of his suit's 4 legs and 3 arms.
Safety checks.
Several
Good.
seconds later, when the pressure indicator on his HUD had turned green, I watched him push off the wall and float slowly through the inner airlock door, which closed behind him.
I'm ready, Rocky. Open the outer door.
If he was nervous,
Rocky?
we couldn't tell. I'd been the captain's first mate for 2 tours. I knew him well enough to know he was perpetually calm. But it wasn't every day you found an alien ghost ship floating derelict on the outskirts of the system. Sure thing, Captain. Let's take it slow, Tuck.
Affirmative.
Hidden pumps quickly removed the airlock's atmosphere, replicating the vacuum on the other side of the outer door. But there was still the faintest of popping sounds as it opened. Another push from his hind legs propelled him on a stately glide, out of the airlock and away from the ship.
They go straight towards
At
the
his
spacecraft
bidding,
on the
short
asteroid?
bursts of gas fired from
Mother's
the suit's
Light.
maneuvering jets, turning him so that he could see our ship as he drew further away from it. Another command to the maneuvering jets rotated Tuck to face back towards his target. He regarded the abandoned ship carefully as he approached. It more closely resembled the somewhat primitive designs of our own people than the advanced ones of the older species. Perhaps something in between. Its lack of sophistication indicated that whichever species had built it, this ship was old. It might even predate the asteroid's flyby. However, the thing that stood out most was the damage the mystery ship had incurred. A large section of hull had been torn open, seemingly by an explosion from within, judging by the way the hull plates had bent outwards. This left a gaping wound in the ship's side, which the captain chose as his entry point. Captain?
Go ahead.
It seems most likely that the bridge is in the forward section, furthest away from you.
Copy that. I see a forward viewing window which could indicate a bridge. I'll enter the hull via the damaged section and make my way forward.
Tuck reduced his momentum as he approached, puffs of gas countering his inertia. He passed the torn metal walls of the ship and floated into the dark interior.
Is he going to
3
find it
beams
there?
of light shot out of torches secured
Any
to one of his
survivors?
arms.
Do we have clean visuals, Rocky?
The feed from his helmet's camera was clear and strong, but I checked with the comms officer, who nodded silently.
Did he just go by
The
himself?
feed is
It
clear,
sounds like
Captain.
it.
No interference.
And the captain as well.
Copy. Keep an eye on it.
Feels risky.
The captain pointed his lights at a bare patch of decking before he touched down on it, the magnets in his suit's feet preventing him from bouncing off. He played the other 2 lights back and forth over the ship's interior, seeking clues to what had happened. Twisted metal and smashed electrical components could be seen everywhere. There was an internal doorway leading
From
forward,
a crash or from a battle?
where it looked as if the obstructions had been cut away to regain access to whatever lay beyond.
I'm in. It's a real mess in here. Proceeding towards the bridge.
Roger. All your suit indicators are green. Mission is a go.
Who's Roger?
The doorway was wide enough for him to pass through easily. Whichever species had built this ship seemed to be a comparable size to us. A short passageway lay beyond, lined with unknown compartments and hatches, all closed and secured. They were labeled in a script I didn't recognize. At the end of the passageway was another doorway left open. Two oddly shaped objects that I assumed were command chairs installed on gimbals faced the screens and the window beyond. The strange design of the chairs suited to bipeds rather than quadrupeds like us. Reinforced the otherworldly origins of the vessel.
I didn't even think of that.
The captain pushed off the door frame and floated to one of the two chairs to inspect them. On the side of the chair, he found a control cluster and something that looked like a data port. From a pocket on his suit, he withdrew the Omni-Connect with careful reverence. It was a Federation-made gadget that could interface with any currently known data technology produced by any known species.
Apart from this one?
The tip of the Omni-Connect seemed to melt as Tuck placed it gently against the data port, becoming a viscous silver fluid that flowed into it, establishing connections with the components inside. The Omni-Connect provided enough power to bring the vessel's long-dead control system partially to life. It linked back to my system, a stream of information populating on my screens.
Okay, so it
Tuck
works.
examined the rest of the bridge for a few minutes, while he waited for me to update him on the result. I saw the data flow onto my screen as the Omni-Connect worked its way through the ancient systems, decompiling and translating swaths of information. Sir, data's coming through now. The code is archaic, but it seems to be Terran. It's hundreds of cycles old at least. I found a number of unsent video messages sitting in the comm system. Some of them are corrupted, but there are a few that look intact. We're converting them to Dramari. It'll take some time to do them all, but the first one's ready now. Sending it to your HUD.
Are we going to get to hear these videos?
Terran?
This will give us a clue what happened, I'm guessing.
I wonder how they got this far out of their own neighborhood.
100% sure, sir. I'm in the ship's registry files now. It was built in the Luna shipyards over 200 cycles ago. Registered name, Starchild. No idea how it ended up here. An icon flashed on my display, indicating that Tuck's HUD had received the video file. He selected it and began playback, watching it on his suit's display, while we watched it simultaneously in the command module. A human female sat in a command chair facing the camera. The ship's bridge in the background.
I thought it was going down. This was going to be a human route then, just because Terra, as he referred to Luna as well, and bipeds. Okay, so we've got a alien from our perspective ship whose mission is to just like observe and gather information, finds an Earth ship that's attached to, or looks like it's crashed on Mother's Light, an asteroid, maybe a comet. I can't remember which one they said. Don't think it really matters. They haven't come across any humans on the ship yet, so we don't know if there's any survivors. They're managed to interface with the ship. They've downloaded a load of videos. Some are corrupted, some aren't. They're going to start watching the ones that aren't corrupted now, and they're faced with a human female. Is that pretty much right? Is that where I'm at?
Playback, watching it on his suit's display, while we watched it simultaneously in the command module. A human female sat in a command chair facing the camera, the ship's bridge in the background. Her hair was pulled back from her forehead, secured with a clasp. She wore gray overalls adorned with patches, depicting Earth and its moon, Luna. I'd recognized both celestial bodies from the Xeno Society lessons from the Academy. The lines in the skin around the female's eyes and mouth indicated that she was a breeding-age adult, well out of adolescence. Hovering behind her shoulder was a similarly aged human male, substantially larger, also wearing gray overalls.
Message begin. Hello, my little star child. It's Mom and Dad. How have you been? Keeping your room clean like you promised, I hope? Sweetie,
no, hold on. Was it
I've got some bad news.
Sorry, was it daughter?
Message again.
Or have I just assumed that?
Hello, my little star child. It's Mom and Dad.
Could be
How have you been?
Yeah, could be a son or a daughter.
Keeping your room clean like you promised, I hope? Sweetie, I've got some bad news. I know we promised we'd be home in time for your birthday, but something's come up. We got offered another contract hauling medical supplies out to Sirius B, and it pays too well to pass up. You know how things are tight right now. I was
going to say, we don't know their situation.
Well, after this job, we won't have to worry about money for a while.
Is that one last job?
We might even have enough to take you to that theme park planet you've been begging to go to. What's its name? Dystopia? I don't remember. but you know the one. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
The man leaned over and shoved a small box in front of the camera. It was wrapped in a porous-looking sheet material. I could see where the edges of the sheet were folded and secured to the sides. A flat ribbon of a different, glossier material was also wrapped around it and tied with a bow on top.
And we got you an extra special present.
Mark! That was meant to be a surprise.
What? I didn't tell her what it is. Act surprised when you get it, Emma.
Anyway, we're very sorry, sweetie. You know we both want to be there with you, but sometimes being an adult means doing things you don't want to do. We'll make it up to you when we get back, I promise. Behave well for your grandma. You know she'll tell me if she catches you sneaking cookies from the kitchen. We're in hyperspace right now, so you won't get this message until we pop out.
So being looked after by Grandma.
We love you. Bye. And clean your room.
End of message.
That doesn't explain much. Whatever happened here was catastrophic.
Captain, another video's ready.
Okay, play it, Rocky.
Message again.
I feel like I'm invested in this puzzle now of what's happened to this ship. I feel like I'm trying to piece clues together. I don't know how much is going to be revealed or how kind of up to us it is to make our mind up on things. But I like it. I'm in.
The woman was wearing a spacesuit with the name Linda stenciled onto it. Helmet on and fully sealed.
So it's going to be the same
The
woman.
bridge behind her was now in a state of pandemonium.
Right, something's
bathed
happened.
in the red flashing lights of emergency alarms.
Red alert!
Unsecured objects careened around, bumping into the walls and each other. Through the helmet's visor, her face appeared tired and dirty, smeared by dirt or soot.
Mayday, this is TRMV Starchild requesting emergency assistance from any Federation ships nearby.
Sounds like the same person, doesn't it?
Our warp core became unstable and exploded while in hyperspace transit. We've been dumped out into an unknown system. The explosion has destroyed the core completely and caused severe damage to our FTL and radio comms hardware. There's also been major damage to our life support system, as well as significant loss to our atmosphere. We're breached pretty bad. My husband Mark is working to repair internal hatches damaged by the explosion so we can restore atmosphere to the rear half of the ship. But there's no way for us to patch the hole and repressurize the bridge. We're restricted to sublight fusion engines only. There seems to be a planet nearby that sensors indicate might be habitable. We might have a shot at reaching it before our life support gives out, but it will be months before we can get there. I'm hoping this message will get out as soon as we can get the comms back online. Please send help. Quickly.
End of message.
I must say I do like the atmospheric sound effects that they put in for the ambience. It really adds to it.
This human, Linda, was talking about our planet.
Dramaria is the only remotely habitable planet in the system, so they must have been heading there.
They never made it.
On my screen, I saw the captain take in the destruction around him with fresh eyes. That was the remains of a flux condenser coil, and there was the shattered disc of a tachyon lens. He crouched over the remains of a data rack, and we could see the haphazard repairs that had been attempted to the comms system. Components bridged with soldered wires and cables to try and bypass the damage. But it had all been futile. The circuit boards were nothing but scrap. That was why the messages in the comms buffer were left unsent. Tuck crossed to the other side of the damaged room, revealing further signs of repair. The hatch leading to the rear of the ship had been buckled by the explosion, and a patchwork of metal plates had been welded on to seal the gaps, leaving the hatch assumedly airtight, but inoperable. Tuck would need to find an alternative entrance into the rear of the ship. The captain backtracked and emerged back into open space. Tuck's helmet camera focused on how the ship was attached to the asteroid. From what I could tell, the ship had originally been fitted with landing struts installed at the base near the thruster nacelles. This would have allowed the Starchild to land vertically on a planetary surface, lowering itself down under the power of its fusion engines. These landing struts had been cut away, as evidenced by the telltale marks of a plasma cutter on the metal stumps that remained. The struts had then been shifted to the nose of the craft and affixed to the load points on its chassis, with the feet of the struts pressing against the asteroid. Additional beams and thinner metal sections had been welded on to reinforce the structure, but almost all were bent or twisted in some way, and the whole structure looked like it had been compressed from its original form. The rock around the landing feet on the asteroid was also covered with a web of cracks, suggesting that it had also been subject to extreme forces. A third video had finished processing on the system's mainframe.
It's going to be worse, this one, isn't it? I think this is going to be a desperate plea for help.
We've managed to seal the back half of the ship and restore pressure.
Sounds
hopeful.
hopeful.
The hydroponics unit was never exposed to vacuum, so the plants are still alive. For now, at least. Life support is still a problem, though. The system isn't compensating properly for the damage. Carbon monoxide is rising slowly, and the scrubbers aren't coping. We're okay for now, but it's doubtful that the system will be able to support us for the months it will take us to get to the planet. 2 people is too much for it to handle in its current state. Mark is running the numbers and seeing if he can come up with a solution, but in the meantime, we're sleeping with the plants.
So 2 people. So I'm guessing it's only Linda and Mark who are actually on the ship then. And they're running out of life support. So they're on life support, but it's running out and they haven't got enough to get them to the nearest planet. Well, not enough to support 2. Is this heading where I think it's heading?
I don't know whether it's all in my head, but the air in there feels fresher. Our problems don't stop there, though. This region of space seems to have a higher than average density of micrometeoroids. It's not bad enough to cause any immediate alarm, but with the state of the hull and our dodgy life support system what it is, it's worrying. We can't afford to take a hit. There's no redundancy left. Luckily, we found some shelter from a large asteroid that we're hiding behind. It looks like it came from out-system, probably from the Oort cloud surrounding the star, and it's heading inwards on a trajectory that will take it close to our destination. It should shield the ship from anything in front of us as long as we stay close. We tried to fix the comm system, but it's trash, so these messages won't be broadcast unless we get some help. But at least there'll be a record of what happened to us if help never comes.
Yeah, got to keep doing what you need to do.
Who knows?
Keep trying.
If this planet turns out to be habitable and we're the first to discover it, then maybe these messages will be part of a museum tour once it's colonized. We'll be famous. Anyway, that's all for now. Whoever's watching this, tell Emma we love her.
Oh, so Emma's...
Bye.
That is a daughter.
That explains how they met up with Mother's Light.
A creeping sense of dread was stirring in the back of my mind. The asteroid had made it to the vicinity of Dramaria, but it seemed Linda and Mark hadn't. I feared what grisly scene Tuck might find deeper within the ship. The captain turned his attention back to the airlock and examined it carefully. Standard practice among Federation members was to have a manual override outside of any airlock. This allowed re-entry in instances where a ship had lost power and an EVA was required to make repairs. Tuck quickly found the override lever and pushed. I watched him adjust his position, bracing 2 of his feet against the ladder rungs as he used his entire body to apply as much force as possible. The lever flexed alarmingly, and I thought the brittle metal was about to snap when suddenly it turned, and the airlock door sprang open. Only the magnets attached to Tuck's feet stopped him from being thrown into space as the door swung outwards. Careful there, Captain. Wouldn't want you spinning off into oblivion and leaving me in charge.
We can't have that.
He clambered inside the airlock and pulled the door closed behind him. Another lever. This one seemed easier to move. I watched the captain open the inner door as he moved to the inside of the ship. There was no atmosphere left, just as we'd suspected. It would have slowly leaked away over many years, no matter how well the hull was sealed. After what happened to this particular ship, well sealed was not a description that could ever be applied to it again. On the other side of the airlock was a small staging room, a space for crew to put on or remove their suits and collect equipment and cargo for transfer outside. There were 2 lockers on the wall. The first was labeled with the word I now recognize as Linda. He opened it and found the spacesuit we had seen her wearing in the videos, as well as some handheld tools and EVA safety tethers.
So she hasn't got the spacesuit with
well
her.
Worn.
Whatever's happened to her.
The second locker bore a different Terran script,
Mark.
which I assumed to be Mark. This locker contained tools and safety tethers, but no spacesuit.
I was going to say, has he got
What
a
did that
spacesuit?
mean?
What does that mean? He had a
The
spacesuit.
4th
Maybe he gave
message
his
landed
spacesuit
on
to
my
Linda.
screen, and I forwarded it to the captain's
I
HUD.
don't know.
Another one, Captain.
Go ahead.
Message begin.
This time, it was Mark instead of Linda.
Okay.
He was in his spacesuit,
right.
only his head and shoulders visible to the camera. His bushy beard had been tamed by several elastic bands, so that it wouldn't float around inside his helmet and obscure his vision. Behind him, a star field rotated slowly. There was no sign of the ship.
No, he's outside.
Hello, Star Child. It's Daddy here.
Oh, it's a message for Emma.
I hope you enjoyed your birthday, honey. I bet Grandma baked you a big cake.
I hope this isn't a goodbye message.
I'm sorry again, sweetie. Damn. I never wanted to make such a habit of saying that to you. Daddy has to go away. And, as much as I hate to say it, I'm not coming back.
I couldn't make a call like this. Well, I would do.
Mom and Dad have a problem.
It'd be so painful.
Well, yeah, we have lots of problems. But, this one is the most important. You see, our ship can't keep both of us safe. The life support system isn't strong enough, and I've tried everything I can think of, and I can't find a way. I can't fix it. I can't fix it.
That frustration and that pain in his voice.
There's only one way.
Is he sacrificing himself
I want you to know
so Linda can
that
survive?
you and your mom are the most important things in the universe to me. And I am so glad that you're safe. But now I need to make sure that Mommy's safe too. She's sleeping right now. And she doesn't know I'm going away yet. But when you see her next time, she's going to be very sad. And so I need you to be extra strong for her. And give her a big hug from me. Okay, baby? okay? And I can't believe I missed your birthday. And you're gonna have to grow up without me. I'm so happy to be your father. Happy birthday, Emma. I love you, Star Child. I love you. Goodbye.
End of message.
I stared at the empty locker through the feed of Tuck's helmet. There was no suit, because Mark had spaced himself, making the ultimate sacrifice so that his wife could live. I marveled at the depth and power of human love. I think the captain did too.
Rocky, there's a body drifting out there somewhere. Calculate a probability cone starting where the asteroid would have been approximately 300 years ago and designate it as a priority search zone. It'll be a huge area, so we may have to call in some Federation assistance.
I understood the gravity of the order as I crafted the message. Normally, one body would be a trivial worry looked over by Central. But this was a different circumstance. Roger. Informing Central Command now.
So let me just listen to what the captain said again.
Making the ultimate sacrifice so that his wife could live. I marveled at the depth and power of human love. I think the captain did too.
Rocky,
What depth of human love of literally giving your life for someone else's. And when there's only two of you having to make the decision.
Drifting out there somewhere. Calculate
Sacrifice so that his wife could live.
Did he say at the
I
beginning?
marveled at the depth and power of human love. I think the captain did too.
Rocky, there's a body drifting out there somewhere. Calculate a probability cone starting where the asteroid would have been approximately 300 years ago and designate it as a
300
priority
years
search
ago.
zone. It'll be a huge area, so we may have to call in some Federation assistance.
I understood the gravity of the order as I crafted the message. Normally, one body would be a trivial worry looked over by Central. But this was a different circumstance. Roger. Informing Central Command now. Shutting the locker and leaving the staging room behind, Tuck moved into the next section of the ship. A jumbled mass of storage crates was piled against the rearward wall. They all bore the spiral helix insignia symbolizing medicine within the Federation. It looked as if they had been floating loose while the ship had undergone acceleration, instead of being stowed in secure storage racks. Inspecting the deck with his lights, Tuck pointed out the bolt holes where such racks would have been installed. Suddenly, I connected the dots. The additional reinforcement of the structure on the craft's nose must be disassembled from storage racking. I had also noticed that all non-critical support beams of the ship's superstructure in this section had been cut out, presumably also to reinforce the structure.
Message again.
Linda was in the hydroponics lab. The membranes around her eyes were red and puffy.
Life support has stabilized. Under the reduced load.
Listen to how... Just having to make that message. What did she say? The life support is stabilized under the reduced load. So it sounds like it's worked, but the cost.
From storage racking. I had also noticed that all non-critical support beams of the ship's superstructure in this section had been cut out, presumably also to reinforce the structure.
Message again.
Linda was in the hydroponics lab. The membranes around her eyes were red and puffy.
life support has stabilized under the reduced load. I've got good news, better news, and bad news. Well, new bad news.
Bad news. Let's do bad news.
The good news is that the planet is inhabited. On the scopes, I can see clear signs of pre-industrial civilization, agriculture fields, some large-scale structures. Even looks like there's at least one significant conflict going on based on some of the burn-off that I'm seeing. The better news is that the planet is being observed by a Federation pre-contact probe in high orbit. My radio is shot, so I can't signal it, and it's unlikely to see me since it's focused on the planet, but if I can rendezvous with it, then I can hardwire in and get out a call for help.
Good. Some hope there. Bit of a plan. Bad news?
Now the bad news. I've been refining the trajectory of this asteroid I've hitched a ride with. It definitely came from OutSystem, but here's the kicker. It's going to collide with the planet. I'm talking a dead-on, bye-bye dinosaur type of collision that will wipe out all life down there. Including that new bunch of aliens who are about to have a really bad year. So, this leaves me with two choices, really. Option number one, I pop out from behind this asteroid, burn like hell, and try to rendezvous with a probe before the asteroid hits. There should be enough time for a ship to come rescue me, if they don't dilly-dally, but the planet would be toast. Then there's option number two. The asteroid and I are still a long way away from the planet. All it would take is a little nudge to push it off course slightly, causing it to miss the planet. Unfortunately, because of how damn big this thing is, that little nudge would take literally all the fuel I have left, leaving nothing for me to decelerate and rendezvous with the probe.
Is that costing her life, I'm
Even
guessing?
then, I'm not completely sure it will work. Option two also has the itty-bitty drawback of condemning me to a slow, cold death in space.
Yeah.
That's if I can even find a way to push the asteroid with a star child without the ship breaking apart under the stress. The longer it takes for me to find a solution to that, the less likely the burn is to be successful. There's just so many variables. I would be cutting it really close. What do I do? Do I try to get home to see my daughter again, condemning millions of innocent sapiens, not to mention all the other life forms on that planet, to a fiery death, and then live with that weight every day for the rest of my life? Or do I try to save them with a long shot that A, might not work, and B, will definitely kill me, leaving my own daughter an orphan?
Oh, that sums it up, doesn't it? That sums it up.
Talk about hard choices.
I mean, she's laid out the two. She's laid out the two decisions. She's laid out the consequences of them as well. It's hard to imagine what one would do in this situation, because it's just so out of reach, isn't it, of actually ever being in this position. I mean, I guess you could probably come up with hypotheticals that could potentially happen, but this particular one,
I wish Mark was here. He always had a way of putting things in perspective.
well, I think I don't know, I mean, other than some support and just being there alongside with her, this difficulty, he's not going to come up with anything else, I don't think. She's outlined the actions and the consequences. You need to make a decision. I'm always interested in things like this because we talk about those classic ethical dilemmas like the trolley problem and the hospital patient problem and the other ones, but they're really interesting. They're really hypothetical. They're really hypothetical. They're really engage people in thought and discussion. But these ones where you actually have to make a decision, because I'm guessing if she doesn't make a decision here and she just stays next to this asteroid, it's going to collide into the planet. So that will be a decision. She has to take some kind of action. She can't sit around and have some ethical debate about it. She has to make a decision. No, as in she can't make the ethical debate and then just walk away like it's some kind of philosophy lecture. She has to make a decision here. And time's going to be running out as well.
Guess I've got some thinking to do.
You certainly do.
End of message.
Mother's light never hit Dramaria.
No, we know that, don't
Human
we?
must have made the harder choice.
She had sacrificed her own life.
All for an alien people that she'd never met, never even seen.
We owe her everything.
Yes. Yes, we do.
After a moment of silence, Tuck passed through the hollowed-out cargo section and into the hydroponics unit. The plants were long dead, their brittle leaves fragmented into clouds
I like
of
that
dust
she's
as
been
he
found by
brushed past
TAC
them
in a
to
way,
reach the far
because they're
end of the
really
room.
understanding the gravity of the situation.
Then we saw her. Her body was in a sleeping bag, strapped to the wall, as spacers often did when in zero-G. Time and vacuum had mummified her, leaving the skin pulled tight over her skull as the tissues underneath had dried and shrunk. Her brown hair was unrestrained. It extended out from her head like a halo, completely still due to the lack of airflow. To her breast, she clutched a box, held fast over centuries by stick-like
All I can
arms.
think about is that I hope Emma, their child, can somehow... Oh, no, this is hundreds of years ago now, isn't it, actually? Is it 300 years ago? So she's long gone as well. I was just thinking, I was wishing, I don't even know why my mind went there. This is how connected with just the difficulty of, the mother making that decision and having a daughter at home who had to grow up probably not knowing what happened to her or the sacrifice that she actually made and could potentially be proud of.
Crossed over her chest. I recognized it from the first video. Emma's gift. The final message finished processing. He played it, and we watched together as he floated just paces away from Linda's body.
Message begin.
Oh,
This
sorry.
time, Linda...
I thought that... I misheard a bit there, sorry.
The final message finished processing. He played it, and we watched together as he floated just paces away from Linda's body.
Message begin.
This time, Linda was back in her spacesuit, the helmet beside her on the floor. She was sitting in the hydroponics unit, artificial gravity keeping her in place. This meant that the ship was under thrust, a guess confirmed by the noise of the engines that could be heard in the background. She must have started the burn. The Star Child slowly pushing the asteroid away from Dramaria and its people.
It's working. The fusion engines are running. They won't stop until they run out of fuel or there's a malfunction. Either way, I won't be around to see it. I've decided to pilfer some parts from the life support system to build a cooler for the fuel injection assembly. That should keep the engines going a little bit longer. Disabling life support doesn't really matter anymore.
Fully committed
I'm
to that
dead
decision.
anyway. I'd rather have a quick death than a slow one. The sad thing is I'll never know if any of this worked, but I needed to maximize the chances. I need to make sure this wasn't all for nothing. This next part is for Emma. Honey, I'm sorry that I'm not coming home to you. You're not gonna understand this until you're older, but sometimes in life you have to make tough choices. Too often doing the right thing means doing the hard thing. I know you'll be mad at your dad and I for the choices we made. Mad at us for leaving you. I hope that one day after you've grown up and had a life of your own, you'll understand the reasons for my choices, and that you'll be brave enough to make your own hard choices when you have to. I also hope you'll never need to. Please don't hate me. You will always be my daughter, and I will always be with you. I love you. Goodbye.
End of message.
Our shuttle landed softly on the pad. As the turbines spun down, their whining gradually abating, Tuck and I picked up our satchels and clambered out of the ship. We were met by a strange sight. Emerald green grass, similar to the purple analog found on Dramaria, covered low rolling hills stretching into the distance. We turned to see a human wearing a diplomatic uniform, standing beside the now powered-down shuttle.
Greetings, Captain. Lieutenant, my name is John Carlson, Senior Xeno Attaché for the Terran Republic. Welcome to Earth.
Tuck approached and extended a hand in greeting, as we'd been taught by our diplomatic training. John shook it firmly, before reaching to shake mine. The human's skin was warm and dry, like nothing I'd ever felt before.
I hope the translator is working adequately. Thank you for accommodating our request to visit.
No, thank you. We owe you a great debt for discovering the fate of our missing citizens, no matter how much time has passed. Apologies for the inconvenience. I know Earth's gravity is hard on your people, but she's too frail to make the trip into orbit. She is over 150 years old, after all. Shall I show you to her?
Yes, please.
John led us toward an official-looking building standing a short distance away from the landing pad. Once inside, we were led to a meeting room. It was ornate and luxurious, primarily used for important official state business. The doors opened, and we saw her for the first time. She was ancient, pushing the limits of what human life extension technology was capable of. Her wizened form sat in a black chair hovering just off the ground, probably to aid her mobility. She was half buried in blankets, with a halo of white hair. But her eyes were bright. They scanned us as we stepped into the room.
Hello, Captain. I'm told you have a message for me. I must say, I'm honored to receive such esteemed visitors, although I have no idea what this is all about.
Tuck approached her slowly, methodically, as he had approached the broken spaceship halfway across the galaxy. He put his satchel down on the table and looked directly at her. Then he smiled, only slightly.
We have several messages for you. In fact, Miss Emma.
There we go. Miss
The
Emma.
captain placed a data chip on the table between them. Senior Attaché Carlson stepped forward with a data pad and placed the chip into a slot on its side, then placed it on the table before Emma.
Hello, my little star child. It's Mom and Dad. How have you been? Keeping your room clean like you promised, I hope?
Watching Emma's face as she listened to the final words of her parents, I was struck by the emotion I saw there. Too often the facial expressions of other species were incomprehensible to me. But in Emma's eyes, I saw a lifetime of sadness and pain, tempered by an obvious love for the parents that she had not seen since she was a little girl and had never forgotten.
They would have just disappeared, wouldn't they?
When Emma had finished, she dried her eyes with a handkerchief.
Thank you for bringing this to me. There is no way I can repay you for the closure this gives me.
It is we who cannot repay you, Miss Emma. Your mother, your father, they saved our world. Everything we are now, everything we will become, is because of them.
Everything.
All the good we do from here,
all of their future,
we do in their name.
We are preparing your mother's body for transport back to Earth, as well as all the belongings we've been able to collect from the Star Child. If you wish, we can return the ship itself back to you as well, but that will take some time. We are also searching for your father's body, and the Terran government has offered to assist.
Thank you, Captain. I don't want the Star Child back. Perhaps we should leave it where it is.
I retrieved Tuck's satchel from the table and handed it to him. He carefully extracted the box inside and offered it to Emma.
It's going to be the present.
The original packaging crumbled as soon as it was disturbed, but the contents were unharmed by the passing of time.
Emma opened the lid of the box and lifted out the object inside. It was a star, made of a beautiful translucent crystal that slowly boiled with 1,000 colors. They ran and flowed around each other, never mixing. The star became energized by the light falling upon it, and the colors quickened. At its center was the form of a baby, curled into the fetal position.
Star Child.
Emma smiled. In her face, we could see the similarities. The infant in the star had been modeled after her, custom made by order of her parents on some far-off exotic world. She was their real Star Child. I am sorry for the invasion of privacy, but I have watched your mother's final message many times. I hope that you do not hate her for the choice she made.
I don't hate her. I could never hate her. I loved her. She was my mother, and he was my father. They were my entire world.
They saved our people. Without them, we would have no world. They are our mother and father, too.
That was Hard Choices by Michael Carabot, performed by Athena Karkanis, Trevor Etienne, Erin Ebers, Jarrett Scracy, Marilyn Facey, and Robert Fleet. This episode was directed by Alex Kemp and produced by Toby Lawless at Wolf at the Door Studios. Dust is produced by Stephen Michael and associate produced by Sarah Newton at Gunpowder and Sky.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Here we are, another.
Well, that was pretty unexpected. I wasn't expecting that at all. I certainly wasn't expecting to tear up. I can't believe that was 45 minutes. That went quick. Probably because I was so engrossed in the story. I think I haven't listened to any kind of audio story like that for such a long time. Struggle a bit with audiobooks. Maybe because this one is just a standalone, relatively short story, I just engaged in it much better. But I took some notes. Well, I didn't really. I just wrote down people's names, really. It's the typical. Well, I guess normally when I frame these questions around save one, lose one or sacrifice one to save many. You're not actually the one. This was self-sacrifice, wasn't it? And not just her own life, but also she had a mother, because you referred to her grandma earlier, and also she had a daughter. So it was sacrifice herself, but also her mum loses a daughter, and her daughter loses a mum, and grows up and lives a life without a mum and a dad, because dad's gone as well. But do that in order to save not just the millions of people on the planet, but everything that they will go on to do as well in the future. Every single person who's ever born again, ever on that planet. And just to add another level of difficulty to that decision is the fact that her plan of saving the planet might not actually work in the first place. And she made the decision. The self-sacrifice decision, which I'm sure most people can understand. Might not agree, but I'm sure most people can understand why she made that decision. And it sounds like, thankfully, her daughter, Emma, got to hear the tapes and understand her mum's decision and the sacrifice that was made, and she wasn't just lost to some unknown incident that happened in space, and got some closure. Interesting how Emma must be really old. It'd be interesting to know what technology Earth has at that time period that could keep people alive for that long. And this whole idea of a federation, and it sounds like a pretty cool Earth to be part of. I really enjoyed that. I don't know what more. I don't know. I mean, this is a special episode, so I don't know what this is. Is this a series? I don't know. If I go to see all episodes, what does it show? Okay, so we've got. I mean, it says here on the about, new to Dust, start with season 3, Chrysalis. I mean, that's an odd thing, isn't it? Start with season 3. Or why not start with season 1? But we've got all these different ones. And I wonder why Lindsay out of all of them, chose this one. It'd be interesting to know why. What I might do is message Lindsay now and just see if there's any specific questions that she'd like me to consider. Then I can maybe have a think of them and talk about them tomorrow, because it's quite late right now. And then we can get this up on Patreon, see what people think. If you're a sci-fi fan, did you like this? If you're a short story audio fan, did you like this? I did. This is the kind of thing that would be cool for, you got an hour, maybe before bed or something, maybe on a train, traveling, maybe just an hour lunch break or something. Just sit down and just close your eyes and just get absorbed into a story that just makes you think and reflect. Instead of doom scrolling for an hour, which is so easy to do. I'm guilty of it. Just sit back and just listen and reflect on, especially something like this, where it makes you think about meaning and what's important to you in life, and just how difficult it can be. And I wonder is there something here about how these aliens, I can't remember what their race were. They were quadrupeds, like how this impacts their relations with Earth now. And just the ongoing advantages that could now happen because of this decision that Linda made. Let's leave it there. Let me get in contact with Lindsay. We'll see what we can come up with, see if there's any specific thoughts that she wants to know. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. I really did. But I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Goodbye. Right, so it's the next day. I sent Lindsay a message just to say I'd listened to Dust this episode and I loved it. And just to clarify if there's anything else that they wanted to say about it. And I can tell you their response, actually. I mean, just load up my Patreon messages. This is how prepared I am when I turn the camera on. So Lindsay said, I'm glad you liked it. It's one of their best. I first heard it whilst I was deployed. They make a lot of good stuff, so I downloaded the whole library for the underway and would put them on whilst going to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night and this one was playing. I picked this one because it was relatively short and what I believe to be a good introduction to them. For me, it was a perfect length and was good enough for me to want to check out more. So it's done its job. And then there's a link to a trailer for the one that is Lindsay's favourite, which is 14 episodes long, ranging from 20 to 30 minutes each episode. So I'll drop a link to that in the description as well if you want to check out more. That was it. That was the response I got. And then my mind started doing the mind thing that it does and starts thinking about how else I can reflect upon this story and think about it a bit more. And as usual, the whole 5Ps model came up. I thought about other ways that it could be framed. I mean, we could frame it around something like the dual process thinking, where you have that system 1 and system 2 thinking, with system 1 being that fast, emotional, instinctive type thinking, which is usually considered survival first. You know, that real survival instinct that we have, which is why we have the flight and fight type responses, because it's all based on survival. And then there's this system 2 type thinking, which is that more slow, deliberate, values-based type thinking, where we weigh kind of the sacrifice of decisions, we weigh the meaning that the decision has for us and the consequences. So we could have framed it around something like that. But there's also a framework that could be used that's based around moral injury, which essentially predicts that people are more likely to choose the path that prevents unbearable guilt later on, even if that comes at personal cost, because they know how difficult it is or will be to live with unbearable guilt, and will make their life so miserable that actually they will choose the path that prevents that, despite it having some cost. So in this example, Linda may sacrifice herself to avoid the long-lasting psychological injury or guilt of knowing that she let millions of people, aliens, life forms die. But I still think the classic 5Ps is a good way to look at this. So let's have a bit of a play with that. So this will be interesting because we don't actually know too much about any of these characters at all. So we're going to have to speak in very general terms, which is okay, because the point of a formulation is to map out some thinking, map out some understanding, take a look at what we think might be going on. So we can use it for this. It's fine. We have a presenting problem. So toward the end of the episode, we have Linda is alone. She's in a failing spaceship. You know, life support's failing. And she also has this dilemma of sacrifice. So use herself to push the asteroid away from the planet. That will save millions. Or preserve her own life. Saves her. Her mum keeps her daughter. Her daughter keeps her mum. But essentially condemns the planet to destruction. So, you know, the aloneness is kind of isolation, obviously. There's this real existential type anxiety of who gets to live and who doesn't. And there's also the burden of this decision, which is irreversible. You know how sometimes you can make decisions or get caught in these decisions and you think, well, if it doesn't work out, I can go back to what I was doing before, or I can try something else. She doesn't have any of that luxury in this situation. So it's an irreversible decision. That really, really puts the pressure on. If we think about predisposing factors, which is going to be a little bit difficult because we don't know much about her or her background. But we can make some assumptions. I know the risk of making assumptions makes an ass out of you and me, but we don't have any choice. So this is what we're limited to. And this is the reality of the situation. So there's a likelihood here that, I mean, there's only two of them in the ship. So I'm guessing one would have been a captain. One would have been maybe a pilot. Both astronauts. I'm guessing that they would have been trained in some way. So trained in being a pilot, being an astronaut, the responsibility of being a captain, perhaps. So I reckon this would predispose someone towards some kind of responsibility and duty. Again, big assumption, but let's roll with it. We have, generally speaking, what humans like to do. So we have the human psychology element here, because we don't know enough about her to be more specific. But essentially, there's usually a drive for survival. We see that in those kind of nervous system behaviors in terms of fight or flight or freeze. So there's this drive for survival, but then we're going to guess as well that there's probably a maternal driver to be there for a child, best for a child. And what's probably best for your child is for you to live. So there's a conflict here straight away. Well, is there a conflict here? It would seem on base of this that if she survives, then her child will also get a mother. But then there's a responsibility aspect, so you could and duty, but there's a responsibility and duty of a mother, I guess. I'm just playing with these thoughts, by the way, I'm just riffing here. But there's also responsibility and duty of being an astronaut, a pilot, being trained in these roles. So that's interesting. That's interesting for me right now. But if we throw in some values here, values and beliefs, we know the decision she makes, so we can kind of backtrack this a bit. We know the decision she makes. So she must have a value and belief here, something which we could loosely call the greater good. I don't know what else I could call that. The greater good, and maybe responsibility toward others. Because there is something that predisposes her. Oh gosh, that's a really bad scroll, that. There is something here, isn't there, that predisposes to sacrifice, because we know that's a behavior she chooses. We know that. Maybe it's a do what's best for the greater amount of people type approach, really common. Or maybe it could be connected with that more injury framework I talked about before, that it's not so much for the people, it's more for her not to have to live with the constant psychological injury and kind of guilt that she would have if she made the decision to save herself. And then how's that going to show up every time she sees her child? Perhaps she's just reminded of that decision. And she may be very fearful of what her life would look like if that was the case. In terms of precipitating factors, I mean, so these are all the triggers for the current situation. So these are similar to the presenting. So you've got life support is running out. So it forces her into this decision. Time is running out. There's the whole moral dilemma. And also what feeds into this is her isolation. So she has no guidance of this decision. She has no support for this decision. She has no authority figures above her to make the decision for her. And this just intensifies this decision-making process and this burden that she has to go through and carry. What's keeping this problem going? These are going to be very similar because it's such a short situation. So again, because she hasn't got anyone to share the responsibility, so no shared responsibility, and she's got no one to bounce her ideas off and a decision-making process off, she ends up in this kind of loop of rumination and anxiety. Am I making the right? I've made a choice, but is it the right choice? Am I making the right decision? What about the other choice? Or maybe I should do that, but then all these people will die. And am I doing the right thing? Oh, I'm not sure. She's got nowhere to turn to. That must be a very lonely position to be in. She also has her own survival instinct, because most people do. Most people have a survival instinct, and to make the decision that you're going to end yourself, that's going against that instinct, and that's difficult. So, her body and her mind are pushing her to preserve her life. And not only is it preserving her life, it's obviously the impact that it's going to have on her daughter as well. And then we have this, what would you call it? This kind of existential conflict that whatever she chooses, she can't escape the awareness of death. Her death, like her own death, her death is either imminent, as in it's going to happen straight away at the end of this decision, or it's going to be prolonged because she'll live the rest of her life. But is that kind of like a slow death with this constant psychological injury and feelings of guilt and maybe shame? So this real shame-ridden life that she's going to have afterwards, which again ties into that moral injury framework. And then we got some protective factors. Now, usually in protective factors, if you've got a strong set of morals or values, that's going to help you, guide you. But I think hers, she'll have a value overall of, valuing life, for instance. But again, it's difficult in this situation because you end up in this situation of worth, like whose life is worth more. And then when you start throwing in large numbers of people, does that impact the decision in terms of, is more numbers worth more than fewer numbers that she has to try to come to terms with and decide on? But I think ultimately, because we know the outcome, we know she self-sacrifices, that this actually drives her decision. I think she has a capacity here for, I don't know what you'd call this, it's some form of transcendence. How do you spell transcendence? I think there's a C in here. Transcendence. And I mean this not in the like spiritual way, but more in terms of she can step outside of her individual decision and see the impact that it's going to have. She can see the meaning of her decision. So she can see her sacrifice as meaning something in the bigger picture. So she can see the impact it's going to have. She can understand the legacy of her decision. So I think that's helpful. I think that in some ways softens it a bit. Not much. It's still a painful decision to make, but I think it maybe takes a little bit of the sting out of it. And then I think there's probably some identity thing here around maybe she can, this probably ties in with this transcendence idea, but it maybe frames her as some kind of protector. And she protects the planet, which maybe gives her a sense of her life had a purpose. It had some meaning, and it lets her have a bit of dignity in her death, maybe. And I guess, if we think about this identity idea, then there's also this, I mean, she's maybe has this identity of protect, what's going on there? Of protector, but she also has an identity as a mother, which we can't get around. So we need to make this somehow, we don't need to make it fit, but we need to factor this into our sense of meaning making here. But I guess if she identifies herself as both, then I guess maybe that, what am I trying to say? It's like either decision really fits with some part of her identity. I mean, this is what makes, I mean, like even, I'm not even in the situation and I struggle to kind of pick apart what would be for her, the most beneficial decision. Because she has this identity that's both a protector and a mother. But I guess no matter what no matter what decision she makes, she will fulfill one of them. Which, on one hand, feels like, from an identity perspective, it doesn't really matter which decision she makes because she's going to fulfill one of them with massive consequences for the other. But on the other hand, it makes it harder because she can't fulfill her entire identity as she sees it with one decision. But then is there something here? Is there also something here around her daughter's perspective if she finds out about the decision that her mum had to make? I mean, is there some element here where if her daughter found out that her mum decided to save herself, but millions died, would she take on some responsibility there? How would, maybe responsibility is not the right word, but maybe she would hold some of that decision herself and the consequences of that, and how would that then impact her? And on the flip side of that, as we know from what we've heard, if her mum self-sacrifices as she does and her daughter finds out about that, then how does her daughter respond? And we know her daughter, she says, I don't hate them. Of course I don't hate them. They're my parents, I love them. And they save millions. So even from the daughter's perspective, it sounds like, although very painful to not have a mother and to go through all of that time where she didn't know what happened, that it feels like that she thinks that her mum made the right decision. Such a difficult, I mean, these are why they're called dilemmas, aren't they? And this is what promotes such a or evokes such emotion in these kind of dilemmas and these kind of shows, is because they're not easy to answer. They're not easy to come to grips with in terms of what you would do and why. And I'm really aware as well that, we haven't even touched on the Linda and Mark decision for Mark to have to self-sacrifice as well and be spaced. I mean, in my mind, and I don't know where I get this from, maybe it's my set of values, Mark is like 100% I'm going. If I don't go, if I don't space myself, both of us are going to die. That's 100% guaranteed. You're the mother. Does that suddenly sound like really sexist in some ways? I don't know. This is just where my mind's going. And what I would do, it'd be like, I want you to live. I want you to survive. I want you to be the mother to our child. I will sacrifice myself. And there's no decision. one of us has to go, it's me. That's kind of what in my head, how it would play out if I was in this situation. I'd hope that's how it would play out in real life if I was ever presented with this. I think it probably would. So difficult. I don't know. I don't know if this has added anything extra to this. This is just me trying to dump some thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. What would you do? How would you frame this? Anything that I haven't considered, because I'm aware that I have my own blind spots when it comes to these things. There might be something I've completely overlooked. So let me know. But I enjoyed doing this one. Thank you for sharing, Lindsay. Hope you enjoy this. Take care.